Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you all for your testimony today and for being here. I think it's a very important topic that should have been probably done before issuing another $1.9 trillion in the COVID package last year. I wanted to follow up on some of the questions that were raised regarding the estimated $400 billion that was believed to have been stolen from the $900 billion COVID unemployment relief program. NBC had reported that at least half of that money was taken by international fraudsters. You alluded to some of the investigations that have been taking place. How much of that funding has the United States been able to recover for the taxpayers?
Well, ma'am, again, as far as numbers, I know we've recovered about 1.26 billion. That there's a slight amount there it's international, but the majority of that is domestic. We continue to investigate those cases that involved transnational organized groups and the funds they stole, and we will follow up. And anything we can recover, we will recover. Obviously, when it leaves the United States and goes international, it makes our job tougher to recover funds.
The 1.26, that is, what is the latest estimate that has been stolen? Is it still 400 billion, or is it more than that? Overall, not just internationally, but domestically as well.
Yeah, well, I just have to say, as many of us have stated today, we have no idea the actual fraud amount. We know it's substantial. We just, those analyses are still ongoing, okay. And I think we hope to have those numbers.
Now, there's been minimal efforts to review state eligibility determinations, which were the most common cause of the unemployment fraud. Do you have any recommendations for how the federal government can better ensure that these funds are used appropriately? Would it be feasible for the federal government to audit funds that we give to states or municipalities, let's say of $1 million or more, to try to ensure that their process is appropriate to ensure that the funds are going for their intended purpose?
Well, certainly, Congresswoman, the oversight effort of following federal funds is something that we all do as inspectors general. It's something that's very important to do. And I know from talking with the IG at the Labor Department how much of a challenge it's been because of the decentralized nature of the unemployment insurance system that has been set up, created by Congress and through administrative actions over long periods of time, and the importance of reforming those, I think, is something that's very worthwhile and significant that we've seen here the need to do.
Yeah, and I want to thank you all for the work that you do, because I think it's incredibly important that we get to the bottom and also learn from the process. How do we fix it? Because too much money is being wasted, and when people are truly in need of it, or programs are truly in need of it. New York, California, Illinois, it was reported that there were 12 states that used COVID relief money that was supposed to be used to reopen schools, and that it somehow shifted to equity, implicit bias training, critical race theory. Are you aware of that, number one? Number two, any other egregious examples of how funds were used by municipalities or states not for their intended purpose?
I have seen the reports on that, but I'll just say this is an area where I had mentioned earlier data gaps and data challenges exist for us. We're still waiting for a fair amount of data. This has been going on since 2020, over 2+ years. Agencies need to do a better job of getting data to the public. The public has a right to know where the money went. We've issued reports in 2020 and 2021 about those gaps, about information being listed, thousands of grants, for example, going out where we can't make heads or tails, let alone the public, of where did that money ultimately go? And that's something that I think needs to be looked at as well.
And when you say agencies, federal agencies, state agencies, or both? Federal
agencies I'm now talking about. And this has been a long time issue. Comptroller General Gene Dodaro has testified about this many, many times, I know. We've talked about it as well. The importance of data and data accuracy. Congress made an important step forward with the Data Act several years ago, but there's certainly more work to be done.
Well, again, thank you for your work. I think we need to make sure that you guys have the resources to do your job, to make sure the taxpayers' money is protected and used for their intended purpose. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. The chair now recognizes Mr. Raskin